Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And we are over in Unrest, as you can see still. Now, we did get a level on the last episode. We are now level 20, and we do have a little bit of experience in there, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I think you need at least 1/4 of a bubble to be able to die and not lose your level, at least at this level. At later levels, you may need a lot more than that, depending on how much you lose. And it's something you're going to have to learn and just grow accustomed to as you go through the levels. Some people will actually go through the game for the majority of it and not die, which is amazing if you can get to those type of groups and actually do a pretty good job and just, clear out a zone. But man, some zones are just notorious for dying. It's just something that's going to happen, and you're going to have to accept it. So you're going to learn that as you go through. For most players, some players, again, like I said before, just won't ever have to deal with that, but for the rest of us, you do. And so I do want to get a little bit of a backup, a little bit of experience, just in case, because I kind of hoping that I can go up to the next floor and get into the fireplace room. Now, when I get up there, the creatures are going to be a lot higher level, and I'll be making a lot more experience a lot quicker. So I do want to get up there as soon as possible, but I don't want to force it, because anytime you join a new group or go to a new room, there's going to be complications, especially if you're not familiar with the zone. Now, if you join a group that's been established and they've been up there for a long time, and basically you're just joining them for the extra DPS or a little bit extra healing because they already have a healer or something along those lines, those are always the best circumstances to learn. Because if you're a tank or a pooler and they already have one there, you can go ahead and go through it and see how he's pooling, what groups that he pulls first, all those things that you can do. But if you're doing it yourself and you're not familiar with that area, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to go through people's lives a little bit more than you probably should, and it may cause issues later down the road, or you just may not be able to pull as much as you otherwise would have been able to if you had been doing it at a steady pace, or just one where you can actually take it and make the experience and make some good loot while you're at it. So yeah, try to get into groups like that when you go into new zones. You don't always have that ability to do that. I mean, it's not like something you can plan, but if you see one there that's been there for a while and you can get onto the list, that's usually the best way to do it, especially if you're a pooler. I mean, if you're a pooler and you're on the list, ask them if you can stay in the room. Some groups do not like that because you'll pull aggro occasionally, or you do this and that, that they don't kind of really appreciate. But some groups are perfectly fine with it, and I would send the tell to their pooler. Now, he's going to be busy. He's busy pooling, so he may not reply to you right away, or he may not reply to you at all. That's perfectly fine. He's a busy guy. The pooler has his hands full for the most part. If he stops to talk to you, to send you a tell or do any of that stuff, then he's not pooling, chances are, because it's kind of hard to type and run down a hallway, why something's chasing you, open up doors, jump over trap floors, do all the stuff that you need to do, watch the mobs, the paving, fatigue death if you have to, get up, run away. I mean, there's tons and tons of stuff the pooler has to keep up with. Now, there's situations where he's broken the area, very easy to pull. He's basically just going from one spot to the next, waiting for the spawn. As soon as it pops up, he pulls it to the room. There was situations where I was a pooler at times where I would pull it to the room. We would have a secondary tank of some sort, whether it was a monk or even a rogue at times, or bards, pull it off of me. I would leave the room. They would kill it while I was running to get another one. And by the time they had finished killing that one, I was about ready to enter the room with another one. And so it was just constant killing, because I was doing the role of pulling, not fighting, not tanking. I was just pulling. That was my whole sole job as a Shadow Knight. And so if you do something like that, then you have almost no time to do any talking or anything like that. But if you can, send them a message and ask him if it's alright for him to pick your brain. Oh crap, that's a big train right there. Let's see, are they gonna hide? I think they are. No? Nope, they're not gonna hide. So the Enchanter decided to come over here and hide behind me, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind that. She's in the same guild, and for the most part, I would almost prefer that my guy died over the Enchanter, because at least with the Enchanter alive, she can mez everything, and then everybody can run to the zone. Looks like upstairs just zoned out. Okay, so maybe they left. Maybe they got in over their heads. You never quite tell what's going on with the train. And now they shout train. It's a little late. This thing passed us like, what, 30 seconds ago? They're probably already at zone entrance, and then you yell train. There's probably somebody else who didn't have anything to do with the train yelling that. They were probably at zone entrance. A huge train goes running by, and they shouted out for them. That's the best thing to do, guys. If you see a train, you don't have to be the one who have caused the train to be able to shout out and let people know. Sometimes the person who has the train on them has other things going on. I mean, they're trying to get away from the train, obviously, but maybe they're slowed. They're almost dead. They're trying to save somebody else. There are a whole bunch of things going on with them at that time, and they may not be able to type out fast enough train coming. They may not be able to do it at all if they don't have a hotkey. So always have a hotkey for train. I have one right here. You shout out train heading to zone, choo choo choo, all aboard. You can do whatever little phrase you want to do. I try to make it a little bit long, at least one sentence. You don't really want to do more than one sentence long or one line long, but you want to make it long enough so that people notice it. Like this guy shouted out train. Yeah, you can see it because it's in red text, but if it was a little bit longer, if people were in a fight and text was going through rather quickly and things of that sort, it still would be easier to see because it's a little bit longer rather than just one word. And also, have some fun with it. I mean, yeah, it's a train. People don't like trains, and you shouldn't be doing them, really. But if you are going to do them, have some humor about it. This game is all about the humor. You spend a lot of time doing things in this game that sometimes are a little tedious. And if you can't have humor about it, if you can't have fun with it, you're doing something wrong. You're not enjoying the game to its fullest extent because, again, it's one of those ones that should be enjoyed and just have a good time. I mean, that's really all I can say about any game you play, whether it's this one or any other, whether it's an MMO or not. I mean, the whole purpose behind entertainment in general is enjoyment. This is why you go to watch a movie. That's why you read a book. I mean, yeah, you can do all these things to learn as well. Yes, they're all possible to learn in video games, in books, in movies. There's an aspect to that, but I think the reason they do as well as they do is because it's enjoyment, and people like to relax. People have hard enough lives as it is for the most part. They want to sit down after a long day, or even on their day off, early morning, sit there and just kind of veg out for a little bit, have a good time, laugh about things. Those are the memories that people will keep with them their whole lives. The monotonous stuff that I talked about in the last episode that people do day to day, as their jobs and stuff like that. Most people don't remember their jobs. They may look back on 20 years they spent at a company, but when they think back on those 20 years, it's the people, it's the events, the stuff that they went to, that they had a good time at, that they remember. It's not I sat in a cubicle for 8 hours a day and worked on a computer. Yeah, they remember that, but they remember it as in all those countless hours pushed into one little tiny thought. Whereas anytime somebody did something, a birthday party, you remember that birthday party. If they had 10 birthday parties while you were there because you've been there for 10 years, you remember each and every one of those birthday parties, or you remember the ones that were the most memorable. You don't remember each and every hour that you sat at a computer looking at a screen. So again, it's about the enjoyment. It's about whether you're playing a video game or in real life. Find those little small, nuggets that you can grasp onto that, give you pleasure, because there's not enough of them in this world. And when you find one, you really, really want to, suck it for everything that's worth. You want to have fun and just be with friends, especially in this game. It's all about the friendships that you can make. You want to, develop those friendships. The best way to develop them, I found so far, is just grouping with people. You'd be surprised. You group with people, complete strangers. You don't even say a word to them. You group with them again down the road. They remember you because, you grouped one time and they recognize your name. And everything goes fine. Everybody's having a good time. Of course, you may not even say anything to them again for the second time, or the third, or the fourth. But eventually, they see you around. You may be asking for help. You may be like, "Oh crap! I died in Seb, and I need somebody to help me get down to the room. Are there any rogues on, or anybody like that on?" And they'd be like, I know that guy. I'm gonna help him out. I'm not a rogue, but I'll join his group. See if maybe I can help him put a group together, and we come down there and clear it together because. He's been in some of my groups before. There's another train there. Dang, there's trains all over the place tonight. Train again from upstairs. I'm zoning. Yeah, because he did get a little bit of the aggro because they ran right past him. So there was always that chance that they'd come back for him. And if they do come back for him, and he's over here with us, then he's basically training us along with it. So again, the pooler has to make sacrifices. That one he had to zone. He had to, and he's going to have to run past those creatures to do it, which means he's going to take a few hits because he doesn't have gate, so he's not able to do that. He may have invis, and if you do, my suggestion would be to throw that on yourself ahead of time. They are having a tough time controlling that area. Yeah, they sure are. Sometimes the reason they're having a tough time is because they have to break into the room. Breaking a room is just a term people use when you come into like this room. It has, I think it has 3 or maybe 4 spawns that happen in this room. I think it's only 3 ghouls. And when you first come in here, that means you have to take all 3 ghouls at the same time. Now, of course, you could pacify, but this room is kind of hard to do that because one, the doorways are right here where you see us in front of us, and there's really no way you can come around that corner very well without pulling some kind of aggro on the backside of the wall. When you come into the room, though, you might be able to pacify through the door, but again, you can't really see all the mobs, so you're going to have a difficult time. It's possible. You can do it, you know, but you just have to be very, very careful, and you have to know what you're getting into. You have to know that there's mobs in here ahead of time. Otherwise, you may just come barreling into the room and, oh, you know, there's 3 mobs on us, and now we have to break that. We have to kill all 3 mobs at the same time. Now, that's not a problem for us at the moment. We have an enchanter, and we have basically crowd control because she can mez the creature. So 3 guys gets whittled down to just 1 at a time, 1 right after the other, perfectly fine. But if you don't have that capability, you don't have an enchanter, because you're not always going to have one. They're kind of rare, actually. Not super rare. You're going to see them from now, you know, once in a while here and there, but I would say probably about 60% of your groups, you're not going to have an enchanter. So just kind of get used to that. You may have a bard, you may have a necro, and they can kind of mez, not nearly as good as an enchanter. They can do their own little sort of mezzing and stuff, and it helps, you know, in certain situations, but I think, you know, enchanters are the end-all be-all for mezzing. If you want the mezzing, you want an enchanter, hands down, above anybody else. So, but yeah, it's a little weird, you know. You're not going to find them too often. They're kind of a hard class to play, which is why you won't find them as often as either. Same thing for clerics. You don't really seem to find a lot of clerics because, one, it's a very vital role. So if you don't have a very stable internet connection, you're getting a lot of lag. People will die because of you. Also, if you're not constantly paying attention to health, you know, people are going to die because of you. It's very noticeable when the cleric doesn't pay attention. People can see that right off the bat. Plus, it's kind of boring for some people. You're not up there with the tank. You're not doing damage. You don't feel that sense of accomplishment because, well, for me I do, but for most people, from what I've heard, they don't feel that because you're just sitting there healing up. And some people don't like that. Some people want to be in the thick of the action. For me, the reason I enjoy it so much, the first time I started playing, was that my main was a Shadow Knight. And so it was nice, incredibly nice, to take a break for a little while. Because as a Shadow Knight, you're constantly pulling. I mean, you guys have seen it on my Paladin when I was playing over there in a group. For a whole hour, I didn't stop once. I mean, my Paladin was constantly moving. I would bring stuff back to the group. We'd kill it. You know, I was there for like half a second before I went ahead and ran out and got more creatures to kill, bring them back, constantly making the little paving ring around where my little area that I've kept carved out of creatures that belong to me. And yeah, you just don't have a lot of downtime unless the group is medding. That's pretty much your only break, is when people need a mana break, and you have like, you know, a minute to go AFK and grab something to eat or go to the bathroom or something like that. Otherwise, you're constantly moving. So when I had the chance to play a cleric, I enjoyed it greatly because it was my little break. When I got tired of constantly moving around with my Shadow Knight, I would load onto my cleric and I would just sit there. I'd just sit in the corner and heal, nice and relaxed. It's almost like just chilling out and vegging out on a day off or something like that, because it compared to pooling, I guarantee you guys, if you want a hard, difficult challenge and you want to be you know, very knowledgeable about the game, pick a pooler, because you're going to be more knowledgeable than pretty much anybody else in the game, because you'll know what the pathing is in certain zones that you go to. I mean, any zone that you go to, you're going to learn the pathing. You'll know how to pull a room. You know how to pull raid zones. That's one of the hardest things in the game, is knowing how to pull. You can do really well in a zone, right? And you guys are all thinking you're really uber. The cleric's feeling good. The enchanter's feeling good. Everybody's feeling good. And then you'll lose your tank and you'll get a new one. And the tank won't know that zone nearly as well as the one you just had, right? And all of a sudden things will go bad. All of a sudden you're getting like 6 guys at once, and people are having to work harder, and people are going through their power a lot more. People are low on power, so when something bad happens, or even worse than 6 guys at once, you don't have the power to back it up. And so yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you'll notice if you have a good pooler, and you'll notice when you don't have a good pooler. You'll also again notice when you have a good enchanter and when you don't have one. But I think the pooler is the more difficult job out of all of the ones, because whereas an enchanter can learn his class or her class and know how to mez creatures, and once they do, they're pretty set. But when a pooler goes to a new zone, he has to pretty much learn that zone all over again, or not learn the zone all over again, but learn how to pool in that zone, because it's different in each and every one. And I've mentioned that before, but again, guys, it's one of those things that if you want to learn a whole lot, because in raids especially, a lot of the time as the cleric, I would just basically sit against the wall, and the poolers would be running around for 45, 50 minutes doing whatever they were doing out there. They would be dying, they'd bring their corpses back, I'd res them, they go off and do it again, and eventually they get whatever they're trying to do right, and they'd pull just one mob, or they just pull the 2 mobs that they want. Everybody's sitting there, not just the cleric, but the enchanters, the wizards, the necro. Everybody is sitting there with me, waiting for the poolers to do what they're doing. And so for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, the only thing we have to do is talk to each other, waiting for them to get it right. And meanwhile, they're having, I say all the fun, but yeah, I'm sure it's not, just all fun, because they are dying and it's difficult for them. So, but I think it's fun. I've always liked playing the pooler, and even when I died in raids and stuff like that, I didn't care. I mean, it happened. You're max level anyways. What do you care? You have plenty of experience. You're not going to lose any. You're not going to lose your level. To lose your level, you'd have to die I don't know how many times to get to that point. But I think we're about halfway into our next bubble. The experience has slowed down dramatically in this group, and I think the main reason is I'm probably a little high for this area now. I kind of wanted to wait until I was 21, and I may still wait, but I think the next time I log on and try to find a group, I'm going to try to find one in the room above me. I think that would be the best place for me at this point. Anybody level 20 plus that can pool tank? So one of the groups is actually looking for a better tank, and as I said before, man, they didn't just want a pooler, they didn't just want a tank, they wanted somebody that can pool and tank. There's a very big difference between the two. Where is he at? Where's she at? Oh, nice. Okay, I probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, let me heal my guy up a little bit. Wait for the measure to get it. I just didn't like the fact that her health was going down and she wasn't in the room. That was not a good sign. Now, I am rooted, which is why I'm not moving. There's not much I can do about that yet. Later on in the game, you can have somebody dispel you to take that off. But again, you want to make sure that your buffs are very well organized when you do that, because I think it takes the first 3 buffs off of your list when you dispel somebody. So if you have, clarity on one of the first 3 spells, and then you have, the root mixed in there with it, you're going to lose your clarity as well, which sucks. It sucks really bad. So most people will actually have some throwaway stuff. Some like resist cold and resist disease in zones where they don't need the resist cold or the resist disease. And they're just there so that if the enemy debuffs you, which occasionally an enemy will, especially if you're a tank, occasionally, the enemy's going to debuff you. You want those throwaway ones in those slots so that if he does, you don't lose anything vital. And then you can just get somebody to put that stuff back on. Because another thing is, those resist cold and resist disease ones, they don't take any mana to cast. They're very, very low on mana cost. And yet, if you lose, clarity, or you lose symbols, which is horrible when you lose that one, because that one actually takes a gem to cast, along with a lot of power. If you lose those, you lose all the power that person put into that spell, which may have had like another 15 minutes left on it, and then he has to remember it, build up enough power to actually cast it, which slows down the pools, obviously, because now he's using his power instead of healing to buff you, or instead of mezzing to give you clarity, whatever the case is. Donating for clarity. Oh, I miss seeing that. Oh my god, that brings back the old days. Donating for KEI, donating for clarity. You're gonna see that in droves at higher levels. It's almost it's really horrible to go from having clarity all the time in a group to not having it. You all of a sudden start looking at your power and be like, what in the world is taking so long? It literally speeds it up like 4 times the amount. So you go from being able to kill, 20, 30 creatures before it respawns to being able to kill like 4. Right? It's a dramatic change. So you definitely want to donate for clarity every so often if you can. It speeds things up, and groups usually will do that. Either one person will donate for the whole group, or the group itself will donate, individually. Everybody donates like 5 platinum, and with a group of 6 people, that's a decent amount of money for a cleric, or not a cleric, but an enchanter come over there and give clarity out to everybody. If everybody gives 10 platinum, then that guy just made 60 platinum to come over and give clarity for a second. So, yeah, it's definitely in their interest. Seriously, guys, sort it out. There's another train. I don't really mind trains too much. These right here, they may be kind of a nuisance, but we're not dying from them. We're not taking the hits. We haven't had to zone several times. So out of all the trains that you could possibly get, I think these are probably the safest ones. These are not too bad, thankfully. So definitely something to keep in mind. And as I said before, I don't like to complain. I don't like to get negative in video games. I like to have a good time. Same thing in movies. I like to, there's another beetle? Where is that coming from? Who's pulling beetles? This is crazy. I mean, it's not like they're high level. They're not. They're like really, really low level. But why would it come in here? Oh, here we come. Oh, crap. Come on, heal. Suck. Is she going to run it? She's going to run it, isn't she? Oh, crap. Okay, so I guess we're going to go ahead. Yeah, go. Okay, we're going to gate. So let's go back into first person. So if you're a caster, my suggestion, if everybody is running and you're not getting hit, you're left behind in the room, to gate. Because if they left first, they have the aggro, and chances are you're not going to run faster than them. And if you don't, as soon as they zone, they're going to come all running back towards you, and you have to pass them, which means you're going to get hit massively. And as a caster, usually you're just going to spell death. You're going to die in like 2 seconds just from getting hit like that. So, yeah, my suggestion would be to use your gate, especially if you're binded just right outside. If you're bound somewhere else, really, really far away, then that's not really an option. Maybe your best bet, if you hadn't picked up aggro already, would be simply to invis yourself. Invis yourself versus undead, or whatever invis that you need in that certain zone. Fatigue death if you can, do something. But running really sucks if you're behind and you're a caster. You need to have a faster speed than everybody else. Let's see, burn bread is 87%. Who's he? Waggus. Can I click on him? There we go. I can toss him a hill on full power, and I like doing good things for people, so I'll go ahead and do that. Now, I did kind of mess up his bind wound, because you can only do it up to, I believe, 40 or maybe 50%. I forgot which percentage it was. But after that point, you can't, bind wound him any further. But that's alright, because I'm going to heal him up to full. I got the extra power, and the room we're in right now is incredibly easy, so it's not that big of a deal. So that used about 2 bubbles of my health. Let's go ahead and zone back in. It's a clear bum. Actually, I think it's burn, not bum, but it kind of looks like that on a 70-inch TV, like 4 feet away from me. So I kind of wish you could change the size of text. I know a lot of video games don't even give you that option. If you're a programmer out there, guys, please, for the love of everything, now that TVs are getting so big, and they're you don't want to sit within 2 feet of a 70-inch TV, or forbid an 80 or 100+ inch TV to be able to see the text. You want to be able to make it a little bit bigger when you sit further away. So, yeah, try to incorporate that into the programming somehow. I don't know how complicated that is. It could be incredibly complicated for all I know, but yeah, you definitely want to. Everybody stopped. Okay, let's see. I'll give everybody invis versus undead. I think that might get rid of his pet. Hopefully it does not. Yeah, I got rid of his pet. Suck. Ah, crap. I wish I hadn't done that. Let's give it to everybody else as well. There we go. Dang it. I wish I hadn't got rid of his pet. Sorry, guys. If you're watching that and you're a mage and you're just like, oh, you're disgusted by the fact, so am I. I can't believe I got rid of his pet. That was a mistake. Because he may have given weapons to that pet. He may have put buffs on that pet. It's just not a good thing to do. Okay, so the ghouls are there. Everybody's invis. Of course, if he didn't have invis, he wouldn't have been able to get past all those ghouls. So I guess it's okay. I guess it wasn't too bad of a thing to do. Let's come over here and sit back down. What do I have right here? Rabies. Oh man, that lasts for an hour. I gotta get rid of that. Let me say clarity. Enable. Yep. Okay, so now that I have rabies, I need to cure my rabies. So here they are right here. I actually was summoning some food and bread for some of my my group members who were running low. And the thing to remember with the food and bread is that it only summons one at a time right now. Later on at higher levels, you will get the spells that allow you to, I think the max will be 4 at a time, 4 food and 4 water, you know, individually with each one of the spells. So yeah, it's it's slow, but they last for a long time. And I remember every day when I logged on as my cleric, because I didn't like having, you know, a backpack full of food on him because it just took up so much space and it weighed so much. I would just summon him 1 stack every time he logged on of food and 1 stack of water as well, so 20 each. And that would almost last you the entire time. Unless you were on for more than like 8 hours plus, that was going to be plenty of food and plenty of water. And if you were on longer, you just summoned a little bit more. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And if you went link dead, yeah, you lost it and you had to summon more, but hopefully your connection was a little bit more stable and you didn't have that happen to you too often. So it is definitely a viable source of food and water, so you don't have to buy more, because it does get kind of costly. And I don't know if they've integrated any of the expansion stuff into this one as far as the food and water goes, but player-made food and water really wasn't all that much better. It did add a few stats here and there, but the stats were so, you know, small and minute, it wasn't really that big of a deal. It may have played a role if you were going to like raids or you needed that extra little something to give yourself a boost, but overall it wasn't something that a lot of people you know, actually went out and tried to get. I never saw anybody advertising selling food and water, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you can do it, but and in fact I've done a little tutorials where I've shown how to, you know, start trade crafting as far as blacksmithing and you know, food goes. And it's interesting, it's fun, because you can take the pieces you find off of creatures and actually do something with it. That's one of the things that I like about this game that I kind of don't really like too much about Everquest 2 was the creatures in Everquest 2, they drop so much stuff, and almost all of it is junk. It's just stuff to sell to an NPC, just to clog up your backpacks, basically. Whereas in this game, the creatures really don't drop that much. I mean, and the few pieces that they do drop are almost always used by somebody for something. You know, the skeletons, they drop bone chips, and they're used for necro pets or shadow knight pets, and they're constantly wanted. Like they sell for 10 platinum right now for a stack. That's how much they're wanted. So it's, oh great, I got area effect from upstairs. Sounds good to me. Yeah, they're gonna get a rogue. Okay, so I healed myself. I should be good. Let's go back to our normal view. There we go. I can look around without standing up. But yeah, it's everything that drops on these creatures is almost always used. Even the weapons, like the rusty weapons. You get those weapons, you can take them back to a blacksmith, and you can have them sharpened. And then you can sell them to the vendor for a little bit more, or you can give them to like a newbie or to a pet, because they are kind of like throwaway weapons, but yet they still have, you know, not a decent damage, but better than nothing, right? So you can give that stuff to them. Everything pretty much is used, so I do enjoy that. I do enjoy, you know, looking on the bodies and saying, oh, you know, what does this zone have to offer that the other ones didn't? Everquest 2, I never really got that feeling. I went to the zone and I would click on the bodies just to see what they drop, but it's more like, you know, I'm just going to pick it up because it's worth money that I'm going to sell to a vendor at some point down the road, and nobody else is really going to want it, and nobody really randoms on the stuff, and it's not only until you get to, like, you know, name creatures that drop really good loot that you're, you know, even concerned with, you know, what the creatures have, really, for the most part. Now, the enchanter keeps saying assist. That's a hot button. It's basically saying she's mezzing a creature, and then she has another one that says assist on the same hot button. The reason you want to assist whoever the main assist is, and it's not always the tank. The tank can be the guy who takes the hits, while somebody else is the one who actually decides which creatures to take. Because the tank may have to constantly switch back and forth between creatures to keep aggro. And so if you're assisting him, and your target keeps changing, you know, and you're doing all this other stuff, that could cause some serious issues. So he needs to do what he needs to do. He needs to be able to target the creatures and taunt them, put a spell on them or two, or whatever he needs to do to keep aggro. Everybody else needs to be burning down one creature, because if you split that damage over all the creatures, well, instead of just killing one off and having two to hit you, now you're getting hit by all three who are damaged and slowly being killed all at the same time, while you're still getting hit by three rather than just one and down to two, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's just, you want to assist, but you want to assist the main assist. And you want to ask when you join a group if you have a main assist. Sometimes the main assist is the tank. Other times he's not going to be. Other times you'll have a pooler, a tank, and a main assist. Well, check it out. We got the reanimated hand. Now, he dropped that bracelet that I showed you earlier. In fact, let me load that up real quick so you guys can see it. It's this one right here, the ivory bracelet. I don't know if he has anything else on his drop list. I'm sure he does. Usually creatures have, you know, at least 2 or 3 items. Sometimes more than that. Sometimes like 10 or 15 items. Some of them are really, really rare. You know, like 1% of the time stuff that you won't ever really see. You may have camped that guy for 3 or 4 weeks in a row and never seen any of his loot table other than the common. That's how rare some of that stuff is. But it's there nonetheless. It's usually on the wiki pages if you want to see all the stuff he drops. At a mana medding. Let's see. He's almost dead. What level is he? Can I not? I didn't get to target him. That sucks. I was gonna not taunt him, but con him and see what level these creatures are at level 20 to me. Most of them that I've been conning have been blue. It's a rawhide cloak. It kind of sucks. It's not anything. That shouldn't have dropped off him. What was it? Oh, there it is. Ivory bracelet. And the end of the ages. This book is closed. Now, I don't know what the end of the ages is for. Let me ask. Maybe somebody here will know. I'll roll on bracelet. I'll pass. Because I won the last one. Now, the group has changed enough that there's only actually... I think there's only one person left from the original group where I won that. So technically, I probably could roll on it. But if anybody else wants it, they can have it. The only reason I rolled it on in the first place is just to show you guys how bad my rolls are. And yeah, it went ahead and slapped me in the face and let me win this time on something I didn't need. Which kind of sucked, actually. But like I said before, if you need that bracelet, leave it down in the description. Let me know or hit me up in game. You're welcome to it. I don't need it. I only looted it so I could give it to other people who could actually use it. So, looks like it's just a book from Wiki. That's weird how it would drop something like that. So let's see. Holy crap! 0 to 100, and it turned out 0. 0 to 54, or 0 to 100 got 54 and 43. Ouch! It's 0. I rolled that in Crushbone. That's funny. I've never seen 0. I always roll 1 to 100. I've never rolled 0 to 100. So I've never seen a 0, but that's that sucks. It's a good thing he did that on a mob he didn't, or item that he didn't really absolutely have to have. Oh, these guys are yellow. Still a good amount of experience down here. But I've done that plenty of times where I got like the lowest number out of the group, and sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes they say, you know, roll 1 through 100 and the lowest person wins. Sometimes they say the highest person. So if you're one of those people who always constantly get the lowest number, you know, maybe throw that in there and say the lowest, right? And give yourself the little advantage. But know, though, that there is a little couple tricks to randoming. And some people are going to hate that I'm going to let you guys know, but you never, ever, 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 if I haven't gotten that through your heads yet, ever, ever, ever want to be the first one to roll. Ever. Can I say that enough, guys? Don't ever be the first one to roll. You get the horrible number. You will never win as the first person. At least I've never seen it. You seem to always get better numbers if you're the second or third or even the fourth person to roll. Last person sometimes will get really horrible numbers. Sometimes if he waits long enough, if he gives it a few seconds, he'll get it's like amazing roll. You know, if it's like 1 through 1,000, and 5 people roll, and then you wait like 45, 50 seconds before you roll, and hopefully they don't count you out of the random because you waited too long, and then you roll. I've seen people get like 995. You know, it's and they do it like consecutively. So I don't know if that's something to do with the programming or what's going on there, but yeah, it's definitely a little trick that you will learn, and most people will know it by now. So it's not like I'm letting you in on this huge secret that nobody else knows. No, they all know it. They just don't really spread it that often as far as the knowledge goes to new players, because somebody has to go first. And if everybody in the group knows not to go first, when they say it at random, everybody's just sitting there. Nobody wants to say somebody go first. Otherwise, they'd be like, no, you go first. That's why. So yeah, it's kind of funny, but eventually somebody will bite the bullet and go first. And, you know, like I said, I've never really seen the first person win, but I guess it's possible. I guess it could be possible, so you may do it. But again, if you don't really want the item, yeah, then be the first person. It also seems like maybe they did it that way because they realized like whoever was the greediest would be the guy who goes first, and that should be the last person to win. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely does seem to have quirks and different things about it. Who's this guy? Is he... what level is he? He's red. Yeah, I'm going to toss him a heal and see how much it does. That will give you an idea of what level he is. 62 to 72. That's not too bad at all. So he's not that high. He may be like 23, 25 maybe. I'm not going to try to mez those, just slowing them down. So somebody's out of power. Oh, that's an enchanter. Enchanter's out of power. That's not a good thing. Now he is still good. And he's in Defiance. Now I've seen that guild. I don't know if they're any good or not. I don't know which ones on this server are the best guilds and which ones aren't. If you guys have any clue onto that, let me know. Just give me a heads up on what the best guilds on the server are, which ones are tier whatever, you know, and things of that sort, and I'll pass on that information. Material Continuum, which is who I'm part of, found me when I was really low level. I was like 4 or 5 on the levels over in Crushbone, and they came in there and they were just recruiting low level, so I'm pretty sure they're not a raiding guild because I've never mentioned anything like that, and I'm pretty sure they're kind of a new guild on the server, so probably not. I will avenge you, son. But yeah, pretty sure they're not, you know, big dogs on the server. But they're fine. They do group semi-regularly, and because they, you know, went out and recruited so many low levels, there's quite a few people to group with as well at different levels along the path. I haven't really seen any high levels. That doesn't mean they don't have them. I don't always check to see who's on when I first log on as the guild, because I can't really do a lot with them yet. I'm not high enough level to go off and do a dungeon that's worth, you know, camping. I'm not high enough level to do raids, so I haven't really concerned myself too much with what the guild is doing, other than if they ask me a question. If they ask me a question, I'm going to reply to it. If they, you know, are talking about something that I'm interested in, I'll get into the conversation. That's, you know, being part of the guild as well. But as far as like initiating, oh, let's go do this and let's go do that, I can't really do that yet because I just don't have the skill. Now, what does this guy do? Is he pulling for us? He's not part of my group at all, so I don't know what he's... and he's not really that high of a level either. Like, right now, I'll heal him. He's at 50%, at 47, and he goes up to 56. If he was a real high level, my thing would do less than a percent. Sometimes even less than that if he's high enough, because my heal just is pathetic at those levels. But I have the extra power, and he is pulling for us, so I might as well toss him a heal or two here and there. Maybe more than a couple heals, because he's taking quite a few damage right now. Actually, quite a bit. He'd probably be dead right now. Maybe he's using his power for something instead of healing because I'm healing him. And he wouldn't have room for a level 14 Chanter. He shouted that out. I would not be surprised if he gets a tell or somebody says something in OOC to not do that again. Now I'm down to 40%, so I'm going to go ahead and save the rest of my power. Let's put this over here so I can tell him I'm over. Nah, I won't tell him. I mean, we're not really going through our power that quickly. Backstab, be right with you. Let's toss him one more heal because he is kind of low. And now he's hiding over in a corner to heal up. I don't know if he may be trying to get his body back, and he's just pulling the creatures down to us, tanking them for us, letting us kill them. Now you got a fine, still, two-handed sword. It's kind of nice. 12 damage, 43 delay. It's definitely pretty good for a newbie who's just starting out. If you go into like the newbie zones and walk around and give out this armor to people, they definitely will appreciate it. That's going to be better than anything they can get for quite some time, until at least they get here themselves. And some people won't come here. Some people do not like dungeons. They like the open area. Dark Bone Bracelet, something Bardy. 2 AC, 2 resist versus fire. Now, the thing to remember is the resist will come into play greatly at higher levels. But at lower levels, not really worth getting. You'd be better off getting something else. These are more Bardy. Let's see, what has he got? 7 Charisma. I guess that's for the mezzing. Or the charming. You gotta have a high charisma as well. You don't have to, but the higher you have, the better it's gonna hold and longer it's gonna last. Tell me about it. Okay, so they're talking about their different classes. They're sharing information with each other, and that's what I'm talking about. Somebody posted, and I apologize, I can't remember your name at the moment, but I will see if I can add it to the video later on. But he posted that he was interested in EverQuest 1 because he had been playing EverQuest 2 for a few years, and he was kind of hesitant to do it because he didn't think anybody would explain the game to him, and it had been out for so long and all of this stuff. And I completely understand that games that have been out for a whole, so many years or whatever, they do have kind of a intimidation factor, you know? You coming to it fresh for the very first time while everybody else knows it forwards and backwards. Some people will be upset if you don't know it yourself. But that's not how this server is at all. These people are more than happy to teach you everything you need to know. And as I said before, many, many times before, as you level, you're going to learn the stuff anyways. And you level slow enough in this game that it gives you time. It's not like EverQuest 2, where in like, I don't know, like a week you're already level 50, you know, if you're actually playing as much as I'm playing this one. No, you're not going to be level 50 in a week. I've been playing this one probably for about, what, 2-3 months now? I can't remember when I started these videos. Probably about 2-3 months now on this character alone, and he's only up to like level 20. So yeah, it's definitely something you get to slowly level up with, and you get to learn it as you go. But people will always share information. They'll let you know where you should go. You can ask. I constantly do that when I'm in groups and I'm getting close to the end of the level of whether it's the zone or the group that we're in. I go ahead and ask them. I'd be like, where are you guys planning on going next? Do you guys plan to stay here? Do you plan on going to Mistborn? Do you plan on wherever it is, right? And they're offer suggestions. You can take them, you can leave them, you can try them out, do whatever you want. It's completely up to you. But if you find a good group of people that you enjoy, and then you find out where they're going to be, you can keep grouping with them. That's always a good thing. You find people who you really mesh with. You kind of want to stay in their circles, and they kind of want to stay in your circles as well. Especially enchanters and clerics. When people find enchanters and clerics that they really can depend on and play the same hours that they play and go to the same zones that they go to, they will follow those people around. They're not being stalkers, but the fact that now they know that there's a cleric within that pool of that zone that they can depend on and occasionally we can get in groups with is far better than going to a zone that is completely unknown. They don't know what they're going to find. They may find 20 clerics in that zone at all times. Who knows? They may find no clerics, which is probably more more likely to happen, is to find no clerics in the zone at all, which isn't that big of a deal because you can get other classes to heal. The big part about it that sucks at higher levels is that if there's no clerics in the zone, then there's no reses for when people die. And you actually have to call over a cleric from somewhere else, pay him even more money because now he has to travel to that location and give you a res. Now for me, if I'm close by, I don't mind giving a res, and I never charge for reses. I don't mind that at all. I won't actually go 15 zones out of my way to res a complete stranger, because chances are as a cleric I'd probably die trying to go those 15 zones by myself. You just don't travel very well with clerics. They don't run very fast. Now if you can get the boots, what J boots, that's what they're called. I almost spaced on what their name was. If you can get the J boots, you get so, and that makes things so much easier. That's why they're worth so much, and they're not exactly the easiest thing to get. It's a really long camp, unless you get lucky, and you almost never get lucky in this game. So let's see. So nobody wanted to pick up those items. Nobody want, because it's a no trade, the dark bone bracelet. So unless you can use it, there's no reason for you to pick it up. It's just going to take up space in your backpack. You can't trade it with another character. So unless that's better than what you have on your wrist slot with 2 AC and resist versus fire by 2, you don't want to pick that up. The Dragon Bone Skull, again, is something you don't want to pick up because it's no trade. So unless you need it, you shouldn't pick it up. Rabies in my burn is how I met my wife. Okay, never mind. Just reading the text, they're a little crazy right now. But I think we're going to go ahead and end the video here, guys. Again, if you do like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely leave comments down below. I'd love to hear back from you guys. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.